If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member today. Members get early access to videos, access to all the stream VODs, and exclusive access to emotes as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, become a member today. When you suppress emotion, that contributes to emotional dysregulation as well. Emotional dysregulation has a lot of downstream negative effects, including impulsivity. And one of the reasons that men right now are leading in is because they are more impulsive, because men
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Okay,
I'm not
so
disagreeing with
so
that.
when you
That's
say
the
this is
cost.
necessary for no, the cost for a society to flourish should not be a large proportion of that society committing because their emotions are not being properly dealt with.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't, right? But I didn't make
It doesn't
reality.
have to be.
I didn't make humans limited.
It doesn't.
I
No.
think
You can be limited and recognize those limitations, but you could also be in tune with your emotions and also be emotionally intelligent, knowing the time and the place when to express emotions. That will ultimately make you stronger and better at providing for your family.
Probably not. I think.
Hey, yo, whoa. Does anybody here want to actually have a productive debate, or is this not?
You're
I'm streaming on my.
You're stepping.
I'm
You're
streaming on my
stepping into the
channel,
middle
so I
of
didn't know if
one,
anybody
right?
wanted
Are
to.
humans sexually dimorphic?
You're not here for a debate.
Wait, yeah, I am. What is
So-
there anything that anyone has for a disagreement
No,
on?
you're not here for a debate. No, you're not.
Okay, Dr.
Hey,
Grimm, how am I? Wait, how am I not
Alright,
here
slow
for a
down,
debate?
Slow down.
Someone's
slow
doing
down.
Minecraft.
Everybody, take turns.
How am I not here for a debate?
What's up, Hunter?
Just because I'm streaming does not mean I'm not here for a debate.
Oh, it's Hunter. Okay.
Oh wait, it's Hunter
What did you want to? What did
Avalon?
you? What did you
Oh,
wanna
it's
talk
the
about?
Hunter Alva Bolonsky. Yeah, it's me. Does anybody want to debate or no? Because I'll go
Sure.
to a different server if you guys want me out of here.
I don't think. Can you prove to
Sure.
me here that you are ready for a
Hunter
debate?
Avalon.
'Cause I
Guys,
don't
it's
think
Hunter
you're ready
Avalon.
for a debate.
Stop being like that.
I guess I don't believe in people like self-identifying being how people get the model applied to them of like man or woman.
You don't like, or you don't agree with that, or what do you mean exactly? Like, I would agree that
Yeah,
gender,
I
like
think,
enforcing that is definitely harmful.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't seem harmful to me.
Okay. Well, so you think it isn't harmful to enforce gender roles?
Yeah.
Well, then maybe this is less of a trans debate and more of a whether or not gender roles should be enforced debate. Because I think that gender roles, like, even if we disagree if gender comes from biology or if it comes from social, I think we can agree that there is definitely a social element as far as expectations go when it comes to gender. Now, I think that those expectations are generally harmful. They tend to do much more negative than they do positive. Why do you think that it does? I guess, why are you okay with that?
Well, more harm relative to having no norms enforced, like as far as gender-based norms, or the types of norms that are typically.
It depends on what those gender norms are. I don't think that all gender norms by themselves, just by virtue of being gender norms, are bad. I think that it's going to depend on what that norm is. But I also think some of these gender norms are gendered for no reason. Like this idea that like a man should be the strong rock for his family, who takes care of his family. I agree with that. But I also think that like if a woman has a family, she should be strong and be a rock for her family too sometimes. Like, I don't think that needs to be gendered, I guess.
I think that comes from an opportunity cost. I think it's that humans only usually gain mastery over one side of the spectrum.
Okay.
I think it'd be preferable to have everybody be really good at both. But I think typically the average person seems to only be good at getting good at, well, how would you
I don't know if that's
describe
true,
it? Like
though.
being
Yes,
in tune with people really deeply to where like you can empathize with them from across the room and like tune into all these small signals versus being able to like shut it all out and like dig down deep and whatever dig a hole while a backhoe is falling over, whatever, that kind of shit.
I'm not sure I understand. I mean, just if it would be preferable to have everybody be good at one specific thing, doesn't mean you can achieve that via enforcement of gender roles, because what we see happening instead is a harm. So what do we see? We see it being ideal for someone, one side of the relationship dynamic, maybe the man, to be the strong one who's not as emotional. So we enforce that socially. So what do we see? We see a lot of guys nowadays who have difficulty with emotions and emotional suppression, emotional regulation, etc. And this has been demonstrated by surveys too, where they've surveyed over 4,000 men in Western regions, and shocking amounts of those men surveyed admitted to being in positions where they felt that they had to kind of hide their emotions out of fear of looking, quote unquote, unmanly, particularly. And so
Right.
I think that something like that is an obvious harm, because if you say want the man to be the strong rock for the family, well, he's not going to be able to do that if his emotions are being suppressed. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's an obvious cost, but I don't think that it's obvious that it's a net negative. I think
So when you're dealing with emotional suppression, you oftentimes will like fly off the handle for little things. That's one of the first signs that you have emotional suppression, is if like little inconveniences send you in like a fit of rage, okay? So how do you think that's going to affect your ability to be a father? I have
think
kids,
it
okay?
works
Kids are
pretty
difficult.
well.
Wait,
I think it has worked pretty well for a long time. I mean,
wait, no. A father flying off the handle over a small little thing, how has that worked well for a long time? That's psychologically harmful. That's a toxic
Well,
environment to grow up in.
so the reason it's worked well is like the human endeavor continues, right? Like our species continues to flourish. It
No, it
continues
doesn't.
to
It contributes
it
to
continues
suicides
to
among
get
men.
well, it continue.
It doesn't
Right.
contribute to,
But
to
what I'm
anything
saying is
flourishing. It contributes to
this
suicide amongst men,
yeah.
dude.
What I'm saying is that this model is compatible with the human endeavor flourishing, right? Like
No,
we're able to
it's
feed
not.
more people than ever. Okay,
It's
well,
not.
that's what
No,
you're
no, no.
saying.
Men
I'm
suppressing
just
their
stating
emotions
my
has nothing.
claim, right?
No, but your claim is wrong,
I
because
think it
men
has a lot
suppressing their
to do with
emotions
it.
has nothing to do with us
How
being
the
able to
fuck can you
feed more
say that
people.
yet?
Because men suppressing
Yeah,
their
you think you're
emotions,
rushing this a little bit?
men suppressing their emotions has nothing to do with our ability
Yeah.
to feed people.
I think it does, actually. I think that everyone who, or almost everyone who builds our infrastructure and grows our food has been subjected to that hierarchy, and it's at minimum compatible with where we've gotten so
So
far.
when you suppress emotion, that contributes to emotional dysregulation as well. And emotional dysregulation has a lot of downstream negative effects, including impulsivity. And one of the reasons that men right now are leading in suicides is because they are more impulsive. Because men
I'm
are
not disagreeing with that.
Okay,
I'm not
so
disagreeing with
so
that.
when you
That's
say
the
this is
cost.
necessary for no, the cost for a society to flourish should not be a large proportion of that society committing suicide because their emotions are not
Oh.
being properly dealt with.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't, right? But I didn't make
doesn't have
reality.
to
I
be.
didn't make humans limited.
It
I
doesn't. No,
think
no, no, no.
that-
You can be limited and recognize those limitations, but you could also be, I don't know, in tune with your emotions, and also be emotionally intelligent, knowing the time and the place when to express emotions. That will ultimately make you stronger and better at providing for your family.
Probably not. I think the issue is that it's just there's certain efficiencies with specialization that you see everywhere in the world, and unfortunately, it just works the same way when it comes to mastering different parts of the personality and skill sets like that, right? It's not easy
You're doing
to
a Mott
be
and Bailey.
empathetic.
That's what this is right now.
Okay,
This
okay,
is a Mott
whatever
and
you
Bailey
wanna call it, I don't give
fallacy.
a fuck.
That is what it
So-
is. You're doing the
Okay.
hey, humans need to be able to master one specific thing for the most efficient society. Okay, we can agree with that. And then you're leading that to, so that's why it's actually it's a reasonable cost that men are worse off in society because they should suppress their emotion for some reason. You need to explain to me how emotional
yeah, so-
suppression specifically will lead to more strength. If you lack emotional
So-
intelligence, how are you going to provide for your family as adequately as you could?
So back to the Mont and Bailey, I'm not trying to establish some kind of inclusive justification right away. All right, we're having a discussion, but going back to emotional suppression, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what. So what do you want me to describe to you how that makes someone stronger?
Yeah. How does that
I don't
versus
look.
emotional intelligence make somebody stronger?
Oh, versus emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
Well, first of
I'm
all,
advocating for a
I'm not talking
solution
about
here.
I'm not talking about an extreme, but what I'm saying is if people are investing in getting good at something, it's just simply an opportunity cost uh between being super empathetic and sensitive and being super tough.
Okay, so I don't think you
Uh
understand what emotional suppression is then. Emotional
okay, well,
suppression does not mean that you're
make it
like,
more specific.
yeah, emotional suppression means that you're not dealing with emotions in a healthy and um, productive manner. I like to think of emotions a
Eh,
lot like, well, hold
Okay.
on. I like to think of emotions a lot like a check engine light in a car. When you feel emotions, they mean something. It's like your body is telling you something, and you can't just put a sticky note over the check engine light forever. You can't just ignore and suppress your emotions forever because eventually that will lead to problems in other ways, aka flying off the handle and maybe slapping your child because I don't know, they accidentally messed up your paperwork or something, right? When you're suppressing this emotion and you're not dealing with it healthily, it comes out in different ways. That leads to harm to more people.
Right.
And it's not strength.
Um I don't think so. I think you're just kind of pushing the argument to an extreme. I
Okay,
think
I'll
it's
just
more
go ahead and
like
pull it up then.
it's more like water is what I'm saying, right? I'm not disagreeing with you that having the ability to process emotion in some capacity isn't a good thing and that everyone doesn't need it, right?
Hmm.
But what I am saying is that like the vast majority of people that I know that are average people are usually only good at one of those things. And again, I'm not saying they couldn't be better. They couldn't maybe gain some mastery over the other side.
This is
I'm just saying
untrue. It's about
okay.
having a balance of the time and the place when it's appropriate to express certain emotions. Emotional suppression is just don't show emotion. It's just if you're feeling really
Oh,
sad,
well
try
we're in
not to do
agreement
that, dude,
there.
because
Yeah.
it's try not to
We
do
don't
that,
have to
bro,
argue
because
about
that's
that.
really womanly looking if you're starting to cry now. Like that's what I'm talking about with emotional suppression.
I think we're oscillating there between two different things. I think uh, emotional suppression to the degree that you never show any emotion. Um, One, I think it's an exaggeration of how like the masculine model gets applied, but two,
Okay, so here's
as
what it
far as
is.
the
I found the
okay,
definition. I think this will just add clarity. Emotional suppression is deformed as a form of emotion regulation defined as the conscious inhibition of emotional expressive behavior while
yeah,
emotionally aroused. So when you're feeling really sad, you're just kind of keeping it all inside, that kind of thing.
yeah,
And men are
that
specifically taught to do that way more than women.
yeah, they're specifically conditioned to get really good at that.
Yeah, and that's leading to harm. So that leads to your an inability to empathize with other people and be emotionally intelligent, which then contributes to divorce because then women don't have their emotional needs met, and then they're more likely to file for divorce. That's actually a huge contributor there as well. So if this
Yeah, I
kind of
don't.
behavior
Yeah,
contributes to, I guess, are you just
I'm not. I'm not buying into the net negative. I think we're in complete agreement that these are the costs, right? They're gonna have higher suicide rate. They're gonna be less good at empathizing with people. They probably are gonna blow up relationships, right? Um, yeah, we're in agreement with that. It's just that the issue is that these people who are really good at this build all of our infrastructure and
no,
grow
they
all of our
don't.
food.
No, they
Yes,
don't.
they do.
No, they
I
don't.
don't know.
Some of the
Yes, they do.
greatest.
That's my claim.
No, no, they don't. Why? Where's your idea that
Okay.
everybody who is built our
Because everyone
infrastructure
I
is what
know and you
emotionally
know,
suppressed?
because almost everyone I know and you know are.
So
That's
wait, let
the
me ask you a
gist of it.
question. If you get up and go to a construction site, can you
Yeah.
build on the construction site if you had an emotional breakdown before you got there? If you expressed
Again,
emotions before you got there?
yeah.
How
Again,
does
H.
suppressing
I mean,
emotion affect your ability to build infrastructure? Please.
well, have you ever built any infrastructure?
No.
It's fucking hard, you know? Shit goes wrong. It sucks. It hurts, right? but jobs have to get done, and they have time frames, and they have coordination that require you to shut all that down. And it just
Do you think
is
when I
the
say that
case
emotional
that
suppression is bad, I mean that like guys should be like breaking down in the middle of jobs, like sobbing? Like I mean emotional intelligence. You could have a
right,
stressful day and
but
keep it
again,
together at
we
work
already
and
agreed
then get
on that.
home and
We already
let those emotions out, for
yeah.
example.
We already agreed on that, right? That's what I was saying. What you were just talking about a
No,
moment ago,
I
right? When you're saying
understand that
like
we both agree
obviously
that
to
there.
me, you're saying obviously. Do you want me to respond? You're saying obviously to me, like how are you supposed to go to a construction site if you just had a breakdown because you never did any kind of emotional regulation at all, right? Neither of us seem to be espousing an extreme here. I think
You
what
are.
it
You're
seems
saying
more like,
yours is extreme.
okay,
Yours is that there is a
no,
benefit from men suppressing their emotion because men who suppressed their emotions in the past built infrastructure. But you have not
okay.
demonstrated how building infrastructure
So
is directly correlated with suppressing emotion. And the truth is, it's
yeah.
not.
Oh no, it absolutely is. That's maybe one of the most. Oh, anyway,
Okay.
let me
You're just
emotionally
saying
suppress here a
things
little
that are
bit.
stupid
But
then.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's probably the opposite. But so let's just frame the positions a little bit so that we don't have to waste time with uh, both of us laying out extremes. So it seems obvious that you're not laying out the position that having no ability to emotionally suppress is good. Like the dude crying in a trench when he's supposed to be digging her out, that wouldn't be good. And I'm not advocating for the position that men should shut down every emotion that should bubble up. So the conversation seems to be more centered around the idea that um, there's some amount that's good. And
Like there's a
well,
time and a
so
place.
you've got yeah, there's a time and a place.
Okay,
Yeah, we
but
both
what I'm trying to
agree on
say is
that.
you
So
can't do that without emotional intelligence, and emotional suppression is the opposite of emotional intelligence.
I don't know that it is. So how does that work? Maybe
Because
we're
when
just
you're ignoring your emotion, when you're
definitionally
making a
talking.
conscious effort to not ever show any signs that you're dealing with emotions, um, then that leads you to not have a good understanding of yourself and your own emotions. That leads to a lack of emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is what's needed to be able to look around, examine the situation, and then act appropriately. Emotional intelligence obviously does not mean sobbing on the job. There's times in a place where it would be inappropriate to express certain emotion, absolutely. But right now, men are taught from the get-go. Like, what are you crying like a girl? That's like a really common one you hear all the time. Little boys are taught that all the time. You throw like a girl. Don't be a girl. Like this kind of thing is taught to boys from a really young age, specifically when they're expressing emotion. So again,
We have to
maybe we agree
rewind
with
again
this.
back to the
Maybe we agree
never
on it.
show part. Yeah, I
Maybe
think
maybe we agree on
so
this that there is that emotional intelligence is what needs to be taught. Act
well,
appropriately
yeah,
considering the situation.
yeah, the way that you're laying out the definition doesn't seem completely disagreeable. But as far as the emotional intelligence part, but I think there is a like what let's say like you have a competent, well balanced person that's presenting a majority masculine traits, right? I think there's a lot of those people that exist that have emotional intelligence, maybe the way that you're laying it out. We might not, bleh, we might end up having to change that up, um, but they have done a lot of practice of what I would say that what I'm referring to, the emotional suppression I'm referring to, which is kind of shutting down bubbling up emotions, like packing them away for a later time, is like a fast of emotional intelligence in some capacity. Like at least in the capacity, well, I'll start with the ground we agree on, right? Like say there's a job to do and you just are digging a ditch and it just sucks. It's like it's not like you have to stop to stay healthy. It's just like the act of digging ditches sucks. So you start getting emotional. The ability to push that down, I think, is a facet of emotional intelligence. And I think we both agree that that can that if you start the scale there, and then you take that all the way to where somebody shoves everything in all the time and they kill themselves or they go on a mass shooting or they whatever, maybe they just smack their kid or their wife, right? Like that's also super bad and it's a byproduct of that model taken too far.
Okay, so maybe we agree more. And also, by the way, I'm reading this too, and it turns out that construction workers that are in poor emotional states have worse reaction times as well, it appears, and are actually at a higher risk of dying. So emotional suppression would not actually help the infrastructure thing either. Emotional control is what you're talking about. You're talking about controlling your emotions. That is an important thing to do.
Okay.
But the way that that's being taught right now is just suppression.
Well, I think that they kind of go hand in hand. I think that there are contexts in like modern U.S. culture in which thankfully we're evolving to accept more healthy expressions of emotion. And then you still have the kind of thick-headed like bullying that happens that probably isn't productive. But I do think there's still a useful difference between how that model gets applied to
I think you're just confusing
males
suppression
and females.
I think you're just confusing suppression and control. I think that's just all this
Okay.
coming down to.
Well,
Maybe we agree more than we don't.
emo-
Now I feel like this conversation though has gone on kind of into a circle and is a little bit diluted, but yeah.
Okay. Well, let's call it emotional control. I still think that there is benefit in having two different models applied to males and females. And I think that's because like there just happens to be a need for
That's kind of a separate conversation that
roughly
maybe we can have that another time. I don't know if I agree with that,
Okay.
but regardless, I think we at least have come to a common ground that the way that men should be taught is not one of emotional suppression, but rather regulation and control. Know when to express certain emotions. There are times to put emotions aside for later, like what you said. And then the last thing I'll
But
say here is
specifically,
construction workers in the neutral emotional state had the highest identification of accuracy of safety hazards, while the negative emotional state, the construction workers had the lowest identification accuracy of safety hazards. So just
yeah,
another
that
thing too.
doesn't necessarily change my position, but that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I think men need to practice currently, like having two models is better than having one model. Having more models eventually will be better than having two models. But I think uh, for as long as we keep two models, I think it makes a lot of sense to have men get a lot of practice at packing emotion in for later to be processed,
I don't
and
know.
have
I don't know what that
women
means
do a
exactly.
lot of prep.
I think it's like, yeah,
Well,
if you're at the construction site and you can't like break down and start sobbing right then and there, sure, then maybe you like write something down and you get to it later. But I think that when is an appropriate time to express that emotion then? What if it's with a partner? Because a lot of people would also say, oh, well, if a man cries in front of his wife or his girlfriend, she's going to lose attraction to him. That's another thing I hear a lot.
yeah, I mean, well, and I mean that does and doesn't happen, but I think it's useful to have uh, women practice tuning into emotion around them and have men tune out, because I think it's just happens to be the state that those are the jobs that are in front of us, like for the species.
Yeah, I think
to
that's
keep
kind of
going
silly
and
because again,
flourishing.
I don't think you need to
Okay.
tune. I don't think you need to tune out emotion all the time for the sake of your job. I think you need to know how to deal with emotions properly, and tuning them out is again not dealing with it properly. Recognizing what it is, identifying what it is, and then maybe if you need to actually like cry or something, maybe if you can't do that then and there, then yeah, you have to put that aside for later. Fine, but no, it sounds like you're saying that like men should still more or less be like trained to just ignore their feelings a lot of the times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right. And what I'm saying is that is still a form of emotional suppression. That's not a healthy method by which you deal with emotions that you feel and experience, and in turn is going to lead to the same harms that I already described.
We already agree on the harms, though. I'm not denying the harms.
But
I'm
you
just saying
no,
that there's
because now your harm
benefits.
doesn't even now it does not make sense at all because it was worth it because they need to have that in
That's not
order
my
to build infrastructure. But construction
Yeah, that's still
workers,
my
if they're in a
point.
poor negative state, which emotional suppression does that, by the way, then they're not actually cut out to build infrastructure even. Like
Well,
literally,
your
even practically
definition of
speaking.
emotional suppression's a complete wet noodle. It's shifting all the
That
time.
is so
But
untrue. I've been very clear. It's a
okay,
conscious ignoring of or a conscious inhibition of expressing emotions when you're feeling them.
right.
And
But
you're
that can
saying
have a
men should
place.
be trained in doing
That
that.
can have a yeah, but that can have a place in the good thing that you're talking about, which is emotional control, right? So what I'm talking about is emotional control can take, which we agreed on earlier, can take the form of having emotions bubble up and being able to turn those off until a later time. And then you have other forms of emotional control wherein you see a child expressing uh, a break in model of their emotions, and you're tuning into those types of things. And I'm just saying, you can put those both under the banner of this is emotional control and good, but I don't think practicing one necessarily makes you that much better at the other. And I think
I
there's
think
just
you're not
simply an
understanding that
opportunity
emotional
cost.
intelligence is the recognition of the emotion and then also recognizing if the place is not the proper time to express that emotion. So then
Okay.
that's what we're talking about is putting it for
Okay.
later and then dealing with it then. I think we agree with the emotional intelligence side of things, but the ignoring the thoughts all the time or ignoring the feelings or emotions I should say, be very clear, isn't the right thing to do. Even if you have to put that on the shelf for later, then you can at least, if you can't say it out loud, think like consciously what you're feeling and maybe why. And I mean, whenever I'm feeling upset, I try to write stuff down. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that if you're in like the middle of a construction site or something. But of course, there's a time and a place to do it. But there's also a way to recognize the emotions you're feeling and know how to deal with them, even if it is for a later time. And you can't do that if you're just ignoring them. If you're just, well, I'm a man, so I really shouldn't feel this way, so I'm going to ignore it. That's not helpful. Rather, it's, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? Go from there, kind of. Try to work through it as best you can. Don't just ignore it. But I feel like we ultimately agree still in the sense that, like, there's a time and a place, obviously.
Yeah, we agree on the time and place, but I feel like we're not agreeing on the like conditioning one group of society different than the other. Because I just think that there is too much to be gained from the specialization. I think even if you're aiming to land in that healthy place of being able to turn something off for
Mm-hmm.
right now and then open it back up later, I still think that comes with the cost of not being as good at empathizing. And I think practicing empathizing doesn't necessarily help to being able to turn it off and open it up later.
Well, practicing empathy can also play a huge role. Like, for example, there have been certain studies that have looked at how women CEOs operate compared to male CEOs. And it turns out that because females do tend to have more empathy and more better people skills, they can make better, more multifaceted decisions that also appeal to a larger base. This is one of the reasons why companies that have females working there tend to actually perform better economically, financially speaking. So I don't even know if that's true. Like,
Well,
if you're
yeah.
talking about building society and infrastructure and everything else, having a healthy knowledge of your emotions and how to deal with them is good. And with that comes an empathy for people. With that comes all of that. And that will benefit you in the working world as well.
Well, when you're talking about a CEO, you're typically talking about an exceptional person, right? And I don't think, I mean, it sounds reasonable to me
Maybe
that,
it wasn't even
if a
CEOs. It may have just
woman,
been female managers. I can look it up too.
okay. Well, I think, yeah, it would have to kind of depend on what,
But
it'd
that's
be
just
really
another thing. I do
specific
need
to
to
the
get going
role.
now. I feel like this conversation's kind of stalling, but I appreciate you coming on, man. And if you ever want to come back on, feel free to just join my Discord or, yeah, what is. See you later.